Hello gamers and welcome to another episode of Vidja Game Hunting. Memorial Day weekend marks the opening of the flea market in my area. So as you can see, it was a pretty good turnout, a lot of people, and some road construction made it more difficult to get into the flea market than it needed to be. But here we go, let's see what we can find. A great selection of crappy sports titles. And, a fishing technique I'm not familiar with, but it seems like a winner. We got some decent vinyl here. And a fair amount of games. These sellers are here off and on. Not a whole lot of games here, to be honest, for this opening weekend. Mostly just common titles. Plenty of knickknacks and antiques just all over the flea market. I'm seeing more and more like crafty type vendors too, just selling homemade items. Not really what I'm here for. And this sweet road sign. Now this seller has a permanent booth. It's like a little shed. He's always got a fair amount of games. I noticed usually like the opening weekend he's got a really good selection of stuff. But this mostly just looked like what he'd had left over from the previous year. Nothing that I really needed. And the prices were not the best on what he had. Box Super Nintendo, that's really cool. And then he also had this Superboy, which was neat. Again, here's the other half of his booth. Not a whole lot to look through, especially the NES stuff was all just really common. Same with the Super Nintendo games there. A wonderfully creepy doll. I passed on that. And then just some collectibles and toys. Your standard flea market fare. Mobile Game World. This is the seller that frequents the flea market. These guys are great. I like to come out and check out their stuff every time because they've usually got the best selection and they're pretty reasonable on their prices, especially if you're buying a lot of items or trading. I've always gotten a fair trade-in price from these guys. Shockwave, kind of an interesting one there. I didn't pick it up. I kind of regret leaving it, to be honest. Alright, yeah, not a bad opening weekend at the flea market. The weather wasn't the best. It did rain off and on when I was there, but I did manage to get to see all the vendors and go through the merchandise. Now, a lot of the people that had games, there were a few of them. It seemed like what they had was just kind of left over from the previous year. There wasn't really a lot of new inventory in there. Nothing amazing that jumped out at me. And I did pick up a few things, though. Only one game, though. And I got this from the Mobile Game World. The couple of runs that are always really great to me. And I highly recommend checking them out if you live in Minnesota, central Minnesota, and you're a game collector. Check out their Facebook page. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I always get good deals and find something to buy from them. And what I picked up is a game I've been after for quite a while. It's a GameCube exclusive. This is Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. And this is kind of a reworking of the original Metal Gear Solid for the GameCube. Usually when I find this, it seems to be like the $30 price range or so. They have this marked at $18. So I had to pick it up. Really happy to have this collection. Metal Gear Solid is one of my favorite games of all time. So I'm looking forward to getting this in my GameCube and like actually giving it a shot. I've heard mixed opinions on it, but I still want to check it out. And now the other handful of pickups I got here from the flea market, we're going to be talking about something that's not gaming. Shocking, I know. But recently I've gotten into collecting vinyl. I've always been a big music fan, like everybody. And I started picking up vinyl records because I found a cheap record player. And I've just found it's really fun with the family, my wife and my kids and I, if we're playing a board game or sitting down for a meal. It's nice just to throw on a record and listen to them. Plus they're cheap at a lot of places. When I'm already looking for games at thrift stores and stuff like that, I can pick up a record for real cheap. And I know there's radio, there's Spotify, there's MP3s, but there's just something about the practice of like holding a record in your hand and putting it into a record player, just kind of the whole process behind that, that's just kind of satisfying. I don't know. But anyway, along with that game, I did pick up Creedence Clearwater Revival, the 20 Greatest Hits. I'm a big rock and roll fan, a big punk rock fan, but there's just something about like this generation of rock and roll and CCR that you know, it's just hard not to enjoy. It's not country, it's not blues, it's not quite rock and roll. It's just everything all rolled into one, and their 20 Greatest Hits. Of course, I'm gonna pick that up. I think I got that with the Twin Snakes for $20, so I couldn't pass that up. And then the last 3 quick pickups I got were vinyl as well. So I got George Thorogood and the Destroyers, Bad to the Bone. I'm not really sure, again, what it is about George Thorogood that I enjoy, but I do like his music. This is the second record I've picked up. And then I got the best of the Guess Who. The Guess Who, this is a really beat up cover, but the record inside is good. They're probably most notable for American Woman, was their biggest hit. And then These Eyes, if you've heard that, or maybe you've undoubtedly seen it performed by Michael Cera in Superbad.
These eyes are crying. These eyes have seen a lot of love, but they're never gonna see another one like I have with you.
Singing on a bad pickup. And then the last one, kind of shocking to find in a crappy flea market in the middle of Minnesota. This is Refused Everlasting. Now, Refused is a Swedish punk rock band. This is one of their earlier efforts. I think their biggest record is probably The Shape of Punk to Come. I think that came out in like 2000. That had a different sound to it. This is their earlier effort, mid-90s. It's more hardcore punk, or maybe even like thrash metal sounding, but not something I ever expected to find at the flea market, for one, and it's a band that I really love. So really, really pumped to find this, and it's a 7-song EP, I believe, but awesome find for me. And that's enough of the vinyl. I promise we'll get back into video games here. So when I was at the flea market, I met up with my buddy Andy, and then later on, he'd gotten through the flea market before I did, and I got a text from him after I had started going through the flea market. He was at the Walmart in the neighboring town, and said there was a bin of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games that were marked $5 at the Walmart there. So I immediately, of course, had to go check this out, and I ended up with a nice stack of games. Again, $5 for a brand new game, you can't beat that, especially current gen. So we'll start off with the PS4 games. I got Warhammer, The End Times, Vermintide. I don't know anything about this, but we will pop it in one of these days and give it a shot. Looked interesting. A game I already have for the Wii U, but I heard that's the worst version of it. So I picked up another copy, and this is Mighty No. 9 for the PlayStation 4. This also comes with the cross-buy, so I can play it on my PlayStation Vita, or Vita TV, I hope. I hope it's compatible with it. And I think it works on the PS3 also, the cross-buy. So not a bad deal. I know mixed reviews on this game, but it's still worth it for $5 in my opinion. And then also I got XCOM 2. I do have the first XCOM, didn't put a whole lot of time into it, but for $5 I'm going to give this one a shot. A couple of Wii U games, nothing amazing, but I'm not actively looking for a complete Wii U collection, but I'm going to try and get as close as I can, just because it's not that big of a library, and I do really like the system, even if it isn't looked on too fondly at the moment. We got Batman 2, DC Superheroes. The Lego games are always pretty fun, so I'm sure this is going to be a decent pickup. And then Snoopy's Grand Adventure. I think this came out at like $30, so it was like a budget title when it first released. But it kind of disappeared, so I'm wondering if this is going to be one of those games that's kind of harder to find later on. I just picked up the first one of these, so I'm happy to get the other one. This is all Xbox One games, last 3 here. It's Flashbacks, Atari Flashback Classics Volume 2. And like I said, I did pick up Volume 1 not too long ago for the PlayStation 4, so now I've got both of them. A game I've heard a lot about, and I'm interested in giving a shot. This is Life is Strange, again for the Xbox One. And I don't really know a lot about it. I think this was like an episodic game that got a disc release. But again, I've heard people give it good praise. And then a game that I kind of was interested in when it came out. I didn't really want to pull the trigger at full price, but for $5, of course I'm going to get it. It's Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I have played a decent amount of the first one. I never beat it. You know, this is kind of one of those games that you're surprised it came out, because the first one was kind of like a sleeper hit, and I don't know that this one sold too well, so I'm not sure if we're going to see another Mirror's Edge, but definitely an interesting first-person game where it's more about parkour and less about combat. So we'll see how the sequel is here. But yeah, that is it. That was the opening weekend of the flea market. Not bad. Maybe it'll get better this summer. We'll see. It's always fun to go and look for games, though, and take the family along and see what we can find. And hey, you know, now it gives me an opportunity to pick up some vinyl too. Let me know what you guys think on the vinyl stuff. I do buy it regularly. I could go through some more videos on the vinyl stuff if anyone's interested. Totally understand if you guys aren't. But if you guys are, let me know. I can keep adding that in, do separate videos, just whatever. But anyway, as always, thank you for watching.